Hello, Concord area people. Woo! This is so exciting. Last year we did it Zoom. We did it quite awesome like Zoom. Concord TV helped us out. I was in the studio. All the contestants were all over the world. Well, actually somewhere in Concord. And this is the Concord Rotary Club. We host every year this competition. We have 8 schools that can, amazing, there's that many schools in this area. 8 schools where high schoolers can compete for money. And I'm going to actually, in a minute, I'm going to let Warren get into all the details. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to invite Warren. Did you want to come up here? Yay, let's give Warren a round of applause.
I would just like to say welcome to you students who have worked so bloody hard to put this together. We know it's not a requirement in your school. I don't think it is. But why do I need 2 mics, Lucy? Lucy is belt and suspenders for sure. Anyway, it's just a delight to see you here. Teachers, any teachers here? Parents, you're most welcome. You should be so proud. I know you are of your kids. Family, everybody else that's here. Mark, are you here? Yeah. Well, Mark Siborowski, I think, is going to say a few words, but let me just preempt and say, you students are in a tough sequence of speakers in this location. It was here in 1860 that Abraham Lincoln spoke. So what should such a man be doing in Concord, New Hampshire? I think he was ramping up to be a candidate for president. The election was in the fall of 1860. This was in the spring. I think he was coming to visit his son, who was a student at Phillips Exeter Academy. But he stopped over and he stayed the night in the Phenix Hotel and he gave a speech. No one has a record of what he said, but the essence apparently was, we better have a moral decision made about this thing called slavery. So that was really what the essence was of the speech. Not only Abraham Lincoln, but I hope I'm not stealing your thunder. Teddy Roosevelt stood on this stage and gave a speech as well in 1912. He was a Bull Moose candidate for president at the time. Don't know what he talked about, but those are some of the legacies of this amazing place. And I guess I just want to say, Mark, we are most grateful, Rotary Club of Concord, that you have offered your real estate to allow us to get back live to put on this 4-way test speech contest. It just feels so good. Round of applause for Mark. And while I'm sorting out thank yous, Mark, you want to come up and say something? Come right on up. While he's walking up, I just want to give a thank you to Concord TV, Josh Hardy. He's become a part of our team. Carl Smith, those of you who know this band called Club Soda, this is Carl Smith. He's our sound guy. And Lucy Morris, who was just up a minute ago, who was our chairperson, who put all the pieces together so we could have this contest tonight. All the Rotarians that are here, the judges, the scorekeeper, the timekeeper, the escorts, thank you all Rotarians for being here. I'm going to turn this over to our host, Mark Siborowski.
Well, thank you. Welcome to Phenix Hall. Warren actually knows the history quite well. He gave you a couple of the big highlights, the 2 most notable speakers that ever spoke here. But Phenix Hall was built in 1855. What CVS right across the alley was a 4-story building. That was the Phenix Hotel. And there was a bridge over the alley, so you could come from the hotel right into the hall. And this was basically the function hall for the hotel. But it was also one of the premier events spaces in the city of Concord and hosted many notable events. It was really one of the key gathering places for the city of Concord. So it was built in 1855. As Warren said, on March 1st, 1860, Abe Lincoln spoke here. And as he said, his son was a student at Phillips Exeter Academy, and he gave a speech here. doing the stomp in the grounds for his presidential run. And as you all know, he went on to become our 16th president. And another interesting tidbit is Edwin Wilkes Booth, the brother of John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Lincoln, was a Shakespeare vaudeville performer. So not only did Lincoln speak here, but the brother of the guy who assassinated Lincoln performed here as a Shakespeare vaudeville performer. So an incredible twist of fated history. Unfortunately, in 1893, there was one of Concord's many big fires. And in 1893, there was a fire that gutted the hall. The walls were standing, but the whole interior was gutted. It was built pretty much, as far as I can tell from research, built pretty much the way it was, and opened up in 1895 as the new Phenix Hall, now 127 years old. And as Warren said, in 1912, Teddy Roosevelt spoke on the stage. So if these walls could talk, so many things have happened here. It was, like I say, one of the big places where the community gathered for all kinds of events, whether it be political speeches, theater, dances, horticultural fairs, boxing matches were big here in the 30s. They used to do a lot of boxing matches up here. And the hall went silent back in, I think it was 1956, that the Phoenix Hotel burnt down, the upper floors, and the bridge over to it, which was the main point of access, went down in the fire. And so the space got isolated in the 50s. My grandfather in 1973 put in that elevator and that stairwell to try to get the space accessible again, but there was really no plan to follow through and bring it back. But it is a hidden gem in the city. I'm always curious, who's up here for the first time? Just raise your hand if you've never been up here. Yeah, most of you. And that's not unusual. It really isn't. For such an iconic place in the history of Concord, so many people have not set foot in here and seen it. So, and the plan is to change all that. My plans are to turn into a restaurant, music hall, function hall, event center, and yes, I hope to have presidential primary debates here in the future, broadcast nationally from Phenix Hall. Here we are the first of the nation primary. Assuming we can hold on to it. They're always trying to steal it from us, but assuming we hang on to it, we're here at the first in the nation, capital city, first in the nation primary, and what happens here? Not much. They file for their candidacy and they do their walk up Main Street, go into coffee shops, do their living room chats, but this would be an incredible place that has that historic feel, and of course with Lincoln and Roosevelt spoken here, it would be a iconic place to hold presidential primary debates. So hopefully that's in the future too. So. Working on plans. COVID was a big setback, and construction prices have gone through the roof with COVID. But I'm determined to keep plugging away at it, and hopefully in the coming years we'll see this place, the rebirth of Phenix Hall for the third time around, and it will be once again a vibrant place in the fabric of our community, and I think it will really be a game change for downtown Concord. So enjoy, welcome, and best of luck to all the students who are about to compete. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Just one other little thing about the history of the four-way test. We know what that is. We all know. The signs are up here. Is it the truth? And so on and so forth. But where in the world did such a thing come from? The year was 1932, the height of the Depression. And there was a man called Herbert Taylor. He lived in Chicago. He worked for Club Aluminum Products. This company made kitchenware, like carrot peelers and pots and pans and so on and so forth. But their business was going down the tubes just like about every other business in the day. And morale was low, and wages were low, and people were hungry, and they were biting each other at work. The company was going to bankruptcy. And so the president of this company said, we got to do something to increase the morale and the esprit de corps of this company. Let's see what we can do. So Herbert Taylor was charged with developing some sort of, what's called a mantra. He came up with 4 questions. You see them up here. And the idea was that if each one of those company employees could get that stuff within themselves and use that as a basis for making a decision about how they speak to other people, or how they relate to their competition in the business, or just live their life in general. We all have these decisions we have to make, and how do we react to them? And this really took off like wildfire. And that company did well. He did not go bankrupt. Herbert Taylor became a Rotarian, and in 1943, Rotary International adopted the four-way test as a kind of an overall mantra that we Rotarians hope to be able to implement in the way we act in our lives, in our business. And it's now all around the world. This contest is available to any Rotary club in the world, and in fact, all over the world, four-way test speech contests occur. Well, so much about that. Let's get on with this contest. We have 6 speakers tonight. They have at random drawn their number, the order of which is just a piece of paper with a number on it. I will call all 6 forward, and they will introduce themselves to you, and we will learn who the top 3 finishers are in this contest. Those top 3 will then be invited to our Rotary Club meeting next Tuesday, and they will give their speech again to the club members. And they will be the winners of the prizes. The prizes are $250 for third place, $500 for second, and $1,000 for first place finish. The first place finisher will then go on to another level of competition at district semifinals in Henniker and first Sunday in April. And if that person does well there, they go to the district finals and on up and up and up for more cash. But I just want to say the cash is only part of it. It's really what these guys had to go through, guys and gals, to search their mind and to figure out how this four-way test, is it really appropriate now? I mean, the world has changed. Is this still relevant? I'm really looking forward to hearing what these kids came up with. So I would like to call forward our speaker number 1. You're on.
Hey everyone, how are you guys today? Good? Yeah, not many people are actually good outside of these walls. A lot of people are mourning, a lot of people are sad. Before I start off, I actually want to define what a morning person is. It's not somebody who wakes up at 6 in the morning and enjoys waking up. It's not that, definitely not that. But a morning person is somebody with immense sorrow and grief and pain. You look at them and you can tell that they're sad, that something's just wrong. Mourning usually comes with something happening. A loved one passes away, favorite animal passes away, or even your favorite college football team not winning the state championships. But it all comes down to one thing. They're all sad. As you all know, Russia's currently at war with Ukraine. And this is displacing millions of people. Hundreds of people are dying by the week. And this is causing mourning to hundreds of millions of people. My family had actually, my parents were born in the Ukraine. They had moved to the US in 2002 to give their kids a better life here. And here I am, standing in front of you, shaking like there's no tomorrow. But this whole run-up, this whole explanation, was just to tell you and explain why my family was mourning, why I was mourning. When my family had to leave the Ukraine, they had to leave family, they had to leave friends, all of it, they had to leave aside. I was actually able to visit them this summer. It was really nice. I was able to walk through the beautiful streets of Kyiv, which are now filled with rubble and dead bodies. Explanation aside, let's actually get to the Rotary part. The 4 questions. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Is it beneficial to all concerned? And will it build goodwill and better friendships? My topic today was, should you comfort a mourning person? No, let's just apply those 4. First off, is it the truth to comfort a mourning person? This is actually really hard to answer, as it's a question. There's no definite yes or no. So as I thought about it, and I talked with my friends, my family, and my teachers, we had all decided that yes, it's a truth, the moral truth. It's based off of the person's conscience. Does the person realize that comforting may actually hurt the person more if they don't know them? The second one, is it fair to all concerned? It is fair. Neither side is gaining an advantage. That's what being fair is. No side is better than the other. The person, the comforter, is trying to help, not gain an advantage. And the person being comforted, they're gaining joy. That's not something bad. Is it beneficial? It is beneficial. Now let me explain. The comforter, they're able to receive joy. They realize that they have helped a person. And the griever, I'm going to be switching between mourning and grieving. They're pretty much the same thing, in my opinion. But the griever, they also receive something. They receive joy. They receive love. They realize that somebody's caring for them in these dark times. And the last question, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Now, surprisingly, this is a really hard question. Most people would just laugh at this. They would think, oh, of course, yeah, the comforter, they receive joy. The person being comforted, they also receive joy. But the thing is, nobody takes into the account the variable of human nature. We're all different in some way, shape, form, or another. Many people will see this and then enjoy it. They'll receive gladness, and, well, they'll just become a better person. They'll enjoy it. But some people may take this, and they just might fall deeper into grief. You never know, because if you don't know the person and you try to comfort them, you don't know what they're mourning for. You could just drive them deeper and deeper into grief and just cause more problems. To recap this, let's just go over the 4 things and what they were again. It is a truth, but it's a moral truth based off of the person's conscience. And are they willing to drive a person deeper into grief if they don't know them? It is fair to all concerned, as neither side is gaining an advantage. It is beneficial, as both sides are receiving something. And it will build goodwill and better friendship if used correctly. Now, right before I end, I just want to add one more piece of information. Besides the whole Rotary, this is more just person to person. Don't just comfort the grieving. Comfort everyone, whether it be financial distress, sickness, somebody got a bad grade. Comfort those who aren't feeling themselves, who aren't themselves.
Speaker number 2.
Good afternoon. Who here remembers April 16th, 2007? Probably none of you. But if you went to Virginia Tech at this time, you definitely would. On this day, in 2007, 32 people were left dead after somebody walked into the building with a 9mm and a .32 caliber pistol. And this is not just an isolated incident. In 2021, there was an average of 10 mass shootings a week. Since 2013, there has been an average of one shooting a week, with only at least one shooting a week, with only 1 week that didn't have a shooting. Now, Albert Einstein once said, "Necessity is the mother of all invention." And this is a necessity. We need to fix this problem, this cancer growing on American society. And that's why I come before you today, to talk about this cancer, and so we can end it and put a stop to it. 3 million people every year witness gun violence. And gun deaths are the leading cause of death in teens. And this is just one of many issues. Now, many people will say, guns don't kill people, people kill people. But If guns don't kill people, why do mass killers arm themselves with guns? DeShane Stokes. And if guns don't kill people, why do militaries race to see who can build the better gun, or who can use the gun the most effectively? And if guns don't kill people, why are they even useful for self-defense? Why do we need them? What is the point of a gun but to kill? Now, there are countries who have put in restrictions for guns. Japan being one of the most strict gun control countries in the world. And their gun death rate is 0.06 people per capita, 200 times less than America's 12.21. It's important to note that their murder rate is also down 15 times. And another important note here is that states that have restricted guns also have seen a decrease in violent crime. And this isn't really about just the everyday American. It's not just about me. It's not just about you. It's about all the families in America that want to make it a little bit harder for their children to get gunned down. Barack Obama said that. And I think he was completely right. Because if our children are getting gunned down in the schools, what's the point of even going to school? What's the point of going to school if every day I have to go there and live in fear of being shot? What's the point in going anywhere at that point? And no one remembers the people who were shot. People remember the people who shot at schools, people who shot other people, but no one remembers the people who were shot. Stalin said, "One death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic." People who are being shot are just a statistic at this point, as you can see through all the statistics in my speech. And one thing that we forget is that morality ends where guns begin. Because guns do not possess morality. Now, a lot of people who are for guns say, "Hey, I'm a patriot. My guns represent my freedom. And my freedom is here, and it's my Second Amendment to own my gun." Well, if you're a patriot, then lay down your arms. Protect our children. So, if you're such a patriot, why aren't we scared of these? Because we don't hear about them often enough. We hear about them a lot, but not often enough. They kill millions of people each year, and we do nothing about this. Now, for reference, 9/11 killed about 3,000 people. And right after that incident, a huge tragedy, we made changes instantly. And nothing has been done about this in the past years. Now, can you imagine a world, a utopia, where children didn't have to fear going to schools, where children were happy playing outside? Can you imagine a world where you never heard about a gun death again? So, I'm done with hearing about school shootings. I'm done with hearing about children being shot down in the streets. I'm done. Let's fix our society today. Let's fix our society right now.
Speaker number 3.
When I was in middle school, I'd often finish my schoolwork early. So I'd walk around the halls looking for something to take me away from my boredom. As I passed the 8th grade bathrooms, I could smell this horrendous skunky odor. As I got older, I swiftly learned what the skunk smell was: weed. We were taught from a very young age that doing drugs would ruin your future and limit your options for success. So why were my peers willing to risk their future? What is the truth? The sad truth is, many children in impoverished communities don't feel they have a future to protect. They do not have hope. They do not believe their education will be able to break the cycle of poverty that their life has been encapsulated in since birth. So they have fun while they are young. We need to show impoverished youth that they have complete control over their future, that while they may not be able to do anything about their current situation, they can work towards something that is better, and that school can help them do that. We can do this by giving them role models, people they can relate to. Many students look up to professional athletes such as LeBron James and Mike Tyson. Both these men rose from great poverty by being prodigies in their sports. A 2019 study by the National College Players Association found that 86% of college athletes live below the federal poverty line. So it's understandable why so many poor children prioritize their athletics over their academics. However, becoming a professional athlete is not realistic for the majority of high schoolers. Not everyone can be a prodigy. Only 1 in 16,000 high school athletes will ever obtain a professional career in sports. That's 0.00625%. The odds of going pro are not in these kids' favor. We need to encourage educational success by giving examples of people who rose out of poverty, not through their bodies, but through their brains. We need to tell educational, entrepreneurial, innovative, and scientific successes. Giving children people they can relate to, who had those same external constraints, proves to them that with hard work and perseverance, they can obtain whatever goals they have set for themselves. We must cultivate grit and perseverance into the youth so they can overcome their odds, make a difference in their own life, and break the cycle of poverty, which of course would bring goodwill. If marginalized students are proud of their accomplishments and value themselves more, they'll have a purpose. They'll have hope in their future, just like Andrew Carnegie and Jonas Salk. Both these men were born into poverty, but their education is what allowed them to succeed. In US history, all students learn about Andrew Carnegie, the robber baron, the captain of industry, but schools don't tell his whole story. Imagine the impact on students if they knew Carnegie immigrated to America at the age of 13 with no money or possessions and worked his way up to be one of the richest men in America. At 13, Carnegie worked as a bobbin boy in a cotton mill, only making $1.20 per week. Carnegie worked long and difficult days, but still found the time to earn an education. He took advantage of every opportunity to read. Through the connections he made as a worker and the knowledge he accumulated, Carnegie was able to take advantage of an opportunity and turn it into a billion-dollar business. Carnegie is a relatable figure for many poor children because he too was poor. Many children have to work long hours just like Carnegie to provide for their family. However, students in America have the right and ability to earn a formal education, something Carnegie did not have but saw the value in. Students need to recognize that success is not easy no matter your economic background. Success takes hard work and can take a long time, but if you really want to succeed, you will keep trying and overcome any obstacles life throws at you. Another role model who could serve as a relatable figure to many poor children who excelled in the STEM field is Jonas Salk. Sadly, very few people even know who Salk is. Salk grew up in a poor neighborhood in New York City with Jewish-Russian immigrant parents who lacked a formal education. Salk's parents saw education as the best solution for their children to escape poverty. They encouraged him to apply himself to his schoolwork, and he did. After graduating high school, Salk decided to continue his education through college, where he received a degree in science, becoming the first member of his family to go to college. After receiving his MD, Salk conducted research on polio, where he invented a vaccine to fight the disease. Because of Salk's dedication to his education, he not only was able to escape poverty, but he made a real difference in the world. Salk saved millions of lives. Salk did not go to an expensive private school or received additional tutoring. He was like every other poor child, but his mindset set him apart. Salk was dedicated to his education and recognized his knowledge and willingness to learn as his way out of poverty. Salk was successful because he never gave up. He persevered through every setback because he would not accept failure. We need to teach students to not accept failure either, but rather learn from their mistakes, change their approach, and try again and again and again until they succeed. I fear if we allow children in impoverished communities to continue to feel hopelessness, if we allow students to have low aspirations and continue to feel that they lack control over their own life, no matter what we do, they will not succeed. Is this fair to all concerned? No. And that's the whole point. It's unfair that impoverished students are continuously put at a disadvantage. It's unfair that impoverished students are underrepresented, underestimated, and discounted. The bottom line is, if students do not feel they will succeed in this world, they will not try. Impoverished communities especially would greatly benefit from teaching educational success stories. By giving marginalized students role models and relatable success stories, these adolescents will recognize that success is not unrealistic for them. We cannot allow children's economic situations to stop them from accomplishing everything they are capable of.
Speaker number 4.
What is the four-way test? That was the first question that crossed my mind when I first found out about this about 2 weeks ago from my school counselor, Mr. Shimataro. That was I had to look it up, as long as what the Rotary Club is. But once I found out what the four-way test was, I began to rack my brain about what do I apply these things to in my everyday life. And the first thing I realized was that I do apply them every day in my everyday life with things that I do every day. I said every day like 7 times there. The first thing that I thought of when I found about the four-way test was about how when I moved to New Hampshire from Seattle about 1.5 years ago, I had no idea what I was getting into. I was moving to a new place, to a place I'd never even heard of before. Sorry, New Hampshireites, but I thought it was in England. So at first I just didn't accept it. I told my parents, no, I'm not moving to New England, New Hampshire, Amsterdam. I didn't even know what to call it. And then I began to be like, it's not fair to me. My brother and sister, they're going into 6th grade and freshman year. They're transitioning into new things where everyone's new. But as a junior in high school, it's not new to me. Everyone else has just had their friend groups. And I mean, I was scared. For the first time in my life, I was really just scared and terrified of the new things that I was going to do. And then I went to my first day of football practice, a sport that I'd never played in my life. I played soccer for 12 years of my life, and all of a sudden I'm playing football. But as my friends back in Washington told me, just make something new out of yourself, just try something new and see what happens. So I showed up on my first day of football practice, and they found out I was from Seattle. They're like, oh, you're not one of those idiots out from the West Coast. I was like, I don't know, am I? So that was my first day in New Hampshire, was meeting all these new kids who didn't accept me for who I was. So I called my friends back from Seattle, and I was like, hey, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. What do you suggest? And they were like, well, you could just make up something and tell them a fake personality. I mean, they don't know anything about you. For all they know, I mean, you're an actor or something. And I realized, like, I want to be true to myself when moving to New Hampshire. So the second day in New Hampshire, I went to practice and told them who I was, met new kids, and sorry, I'm just gonna look at my notes real quick. I got the brain of a goldfish. And I met these new kids. The third day of practice, however, was a little bit different. It's when we first got pads. So these kids that had never known me, they got to hit me. And I was scared. I was never just wasn't used to being hit. As a goalkeeper in soccer, I mean, I hit the ball, but not 250 pounds, 6'5" of our lineman we're going to call him Bubba for now. That's what we call him. But the four-way test by the Rotary Club, it made me realize that it doesn't have to be something that we use it doesn't have to be something that you have to think of before you use it, as it's qualities and questions that you ask yourself every single day as a person and as an individual. Like, all of these questions that made me realize, I asked them myself when I first moved to New Hampshire, albeit I didn't know what the Rotary Club was. I thought it was about robotics, I'm not going to lie. But these questions made me realize that I should not worry about whether or not my life is meeting these questions, but about whether or not I can provide a way to meet my life standards by using these questions in my everyday standard of life. Ran a little bit short there, but I'll give you guys a little bit of update. As someone who's now lived in New Hampshire for 1 year, climbing Mount Washington next week to consider myself a true New Hampshireite, I have been voted I'm most likely to make friends with strangers in my room by my senior class, officer in 4 different clubs, and meeting all these new people every single day. I mean, all these wonderful people out here, I mean, a lot smarter than I am. I mean, kind of nervous now that after hearing all these people speak, I know they're going to do great things. A sophomore over there, I mean, I think he's a genius. But I think that using these qualities every day is a really impactful way to just live your life. Yeah, I didn't make 5 minutes, I'm sorry.
Speaker number 5.
I moved about 2 years ago now from New York to New Hampshire, so not that far. And I wouldn't say this is some crazy hard event or heartbreaking story that I'm about to spill to you, but for me, it was new. The town I grew up in, Pottersville, it was really small. I don't think you could even call it a town. It had a population of 240 people. Not a lot. So for me, leaving that was crazy. I was packing up everything I ever knew and leaving all the people I grew up with to go to some place where I knew no one. And that was what struck me most about this. And what I'm going to be talking about today is the importance of social interaction. Now, if I were to ask anyone here, is social interaction important? I'm sure they would say, yes, definitely, obviously. That's why I'm not going to try and convince you that social interaction is important. Rather, I'm going to try and convince you that maybe it's more important than you thought. Until I moved and lost it, I didn't truly understand this. And seeing as I can't force anyone here to pack up their stuff and live as a hermit for 2 years, I'm going to try and convince you that social interaction is more powerful than you thought through the 4-way test. Ready? Question 1. Is social interaction the truth, or the power of social interaction? If I were to ask anyone here, what is the biggest threat to our world, I'm sure everyone would say something along the lines of pandemic, war, poverty, disease, something like that. I don't think anyone would say friendship, or the loss of friendship. And as cliche as it sounds, I truly believe that friendship is the most powerful force in our universe. Or rather, the loss of friendship would be the biggest threat. Now, hear me out. Out of the problems I mentioned, all of them can be solved, theoretically, by someone. But none of them can be solved by just one person. No one person can solve anything. No one person has stopped a war, ended a viral disease. No one person has accomplished anything. Good things come from people working together. And in order for people to work together, they need to interact. Therefore, the power of social interaction is true because through it, good things are accomplished. Question number 2. Is social interaction fair to everyone? If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then you would know that love and belonging comes right after the most basic physical needs. Think warmth, food, shelter, that kind of thing. Social interaction, it is a need, and people have a need to have that fulfilled. So it's fair for them. But is it fair for you? I've often thought that it's not fair for me. I don't want to do this. When I was in 6th grade, I remember my dad came up to me. There's a new kid at my school. He said, "Son, go take this ball and play with this kid." I said, "No, that's not fair. I don't want to do that." Fast forward today, that kid is my best friend, despite living in a different state. Thank you, Dad. Despite what I thought, that the socializing wasn't fair to me, it turns out it was fair to everyone involved. The third question, does socializing build goodwill and better friendships? And actually, recent studies have found that being social, interacting, negatively affects friendships. No, I feel like everyone here knows that in order to have friendships, in order to have friends, you have to interact. You have to interact. Social interaction is important for building friendships. I remember when I first came to the school I'm at now, it was still right after my move. I still knew no one. My social life was horrible. And I wasn't ready to talk to people. I wasn't able to do that. So imagine how I felt when people came up to me, talked to me, put effort into my life. It had an impact on me. I can still remember the first people to come up and talk to me. And I have that opportunity, you have that opportunity to be that difference in someone's life, to build goodwill, to build friendships, and all it takes is the smallest bit of socializing. Question 4, is it beneficial to all concerned? Right now, we need social interaction more than ever before. People are worried, people are stressed, and why shouldn't they be? There are wars, pandemics, huge problems that are taking our attention and focusing it on the worst of the worst. General feelings of sadness, depression, anxiety are all on the rise, but we might be forgetting the most powerful cure. Psychology Today finds that, quote, social interaction has been found to reduce feelings of depression and help with feelings of well-being, end quote. Numerous other studies support this, and so often I have been down, not feeling myself, not wanting to interact with people, only to be pulled back into happiness by others coming to me. Social interaction is beneficial to all because it uplifts people and it serves as the necessary distraction from the craziness in the world that we now face. In conclusion, social interaction is more powerful than you might have thought. Humans are social creatures, and we need connection. It is one of our most basic needs. Yet so often we find ourselves losing it. Whether it be after a move where you don't know anyone, or if you're following depression where you aren't able to socialize with people, or even just when you lose people in the busyness of life. So the power of social interaction cannot be forgotten. Make an effort to talk to people that seem down, lonely, are new, people that seem okay. Because you don't know the impact that you'll be having. You do not know the change that you will be making. Because the power of social interaction is the truth, it is fair to all, it does build goodwill and friendships, and it is beneficial to all. Thank you.
Speaker number 6.
Space is something that's fascinated me since I was a little kid, whether it be going to the Christopher Columbus Planetarium here in Concord or watching the televised launches of the space shuttles. But despite the love I have for this, some people think that we should not invest in space, especially when given the number of problems we have here on Earth. I'm here to tell you why we should invest in space due to the benefits of offshoot technology, being able to learn more truths about our universe, the international cooperation and future, as well as the international cooperation and future opportunities that can come from this field. So to start, do you have a phone? And if you do, have you ever taken a picture with your phone? If you have, then you've actually used an offshoot technology of space, or space exploration. In the 1990s, NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab worked on miniaturizing a camera as well as making it use low power. And this is just one of many things that has come from this field. However, if you were to go back 20, 30, 40 maybe even years to whenever the original thing was invented and asked those who worked on it, oh, do you know that this is going to change day-to-day life in the future? I would guess that most people would say no. And I would dare say that it would have been unreasonable to expect them to know the effects that the project they were working on would have in the future. In a similar fashion, if there could be something being worked on today that could revolutionize day-to-day life in another 20, 30 years down the line that we just don't know about yet. So now for exploration, we've done a lot of our exploration of space through the use of telescopes, whether they be telescopes here on the ground or up in space, like the recently launched James Webb Space Telescope. They've helped us more accurately estimate the age of our universe, learn about the life cycle of stars. But one of my favorite things that we've done with these telescopes is the result of a 10-day exposure. This exposure was focused on what's called the smallest part of the night sky, equivalent to the size of a dime seen from 75 feet away. Now, in this tiny pinprick of the sky, we discovered 1,500 new galaxies that we had no idea existed. And if in that tiny amount of sky we could find that much, who knows what is still out there to be found. Now, with international cooperation, one obvious and really good example is the International Space Station. You know, the work of 16 countries that's still orbiting as a platform to be able to run tests with today. But I'm going to focus on another group, the European Space Agency, which is a conglomeration of 22 countries, and their whole goal is to make space more accessible for everyone, specifically in Europe. But also, all their goals are peaceful. They're not interested in trying to exploit space or anything. They're doing it purely for discovery. Now, as I mentioned in the opening, there's some opposition. Mainly, why should we invest in space when we have so many problems here on the ground? In fact, a Business Insider survey found of around 1,000 people found over 800 of those people would have cut NASA's budget based on their estimations. In reality, NASA gets 0.5% of the United States' total budget. And not all of that is just, being put on a rocket and shot up into space. A lot of it is coming back into our own economy through the paychecks of 18,000 NASA employees, not to mention any money that goes to contractors that they work with. In addition to this, NASA has 30 active missions which are focused purely here on Earth, whether it's gathering data about storm formations or moisture levels in the ground. And all of that information is provided for free to the public through NASA's website. And it can help people predict crop yields and overall just help the betterment of life here on Earth. Something that's a little bit more abstract is dreaming about the future. Like, when I was a kid, I always dreamed of being able to walk on the moon or being one of the first people to step foot on Mars. At this point, I'm aware it's probably not going to be me. In reality, it might not even be anyone I know. But it's going to be someone who is alive today who's going to achieve those, is going to be the first person to step foot on Mars. And skeptics may say, all right, so once you do that, so what? Oh yeah, you reached a goal, so what? What are you going to do from there? Something that's amazing about explorative fields is that once you reach one goal, generally you're not going to stop there. You're going to keep on looking. You're going to keep on creating new goals. You're going to keep on hunting for those new accomplishments. In conclusion, despite objections, the benefits of the technology gained, international cooperation, and expansion of our knowledge about the universe heavily outweighs the perceived notion that we spend too much money on this incredible field. In addition to that, more opportunities are going to be created for future engineers, astronauts, and physicists who will make new discoveries in space as well as help contribute to improving life here on Earth. Thank you.
I'd like to call all 6 of our speakers up and join me on the stage. Come on up, guys. This is our time. This is our time to find out who these people really are. Aren't they wonderful? I'm going to give you your certificates of participation, and I'll do that by addressing your first name. I'm going to go alphabetical order by your last name, and if you will then step to the microphone and tell everybody your full name, what school you're from, and a little bit about what turns you on. Maybe your future or maybe something. Doesn't have to be your speech again, but let us know who you are. Okay, I'd like to call for Zachary. Go for it.
It's a little short, but I'm Zachary Babin. I am from Trinity Christian School. I'm here with one of my friends, Jacob Storman. I'm a sophomore in high school currently. I believe Sean was the one that mentioned me, the genius, although I don't think I'm a genius. I'm a guy. I like the normal guy things, sports, video games. Not so many guy things. Cooking, reading. That's just a little about me.
Congratulations. Colby, you're up next.
I'm Colby Van Cunnevorf. I'm from Bishop Brady High School. I'm a junior this year, and my favorite hobby is most definitely flying.
Sean, you're next.
I'm Sean McConaughey. I'm a senior at Merrimack Valley. Not really here with anyone, but I like to snowboard, hike, and after high school, I'm planning on pursuing pre-law to help nonprofits out. So.
Congratulations.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Megan? Oh,
It's okay. I'm not tall, so.
thank you.
My
Is it
name's-
the truth?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
true. Okay, so
I apologize.
My name's Morgan Wheeler. I go to Bishop Brady. I'm a junior. I came here because we wrote a speech in Miss Sika's class, and so she encouraged me to perform it, so I did. I enjoy learning a lot. It's probably like the highlight. I love learning, but I also like really being active. I danced for 13 years, and now I row and play basketball, and yeah.
We'll get your name correct, sorry.
It's all right.
Okay, we'll keep going. Just go ahead and introduce yourself. Greg, you want to step up?
Hi, I'm Greg Watson. I am also a junior at Bishop Brady High School. I play ice hockey, football, and I throw for track and field. And in case you couldn't guess, I am interested in going into the aerospace field.
Congratulations. Okay.
Hello, I'm Jacob Storman. I'm from Trinity Christian School with Zach Babin. I enjoy cooking, hiking, fire, things like that. That's all.
Congratulations. Now let's really let them have it. These guys are fantastic. In addition to the four-way test speech contest, Rotary Club of Concord offers every year a substantial amount of money for scholarships for seniors in the greater Concord area, including all the schools that you see represented here. It's not only for kids that aspire to go to a 2- or a 4-year college, but also anybody that may want to go to trade school, professional licensure, associate degree, industrial value certificates, you name it. Money is available for all of these future endeavors. To access the application, simply go to our website, concordnhrotary.org, and you click on the scholarship application. It pops down. You fill the application out online, click send, and it goes automatically to our committee. The application process is now open. It's through the month of April. It closes, the last applications will be accepted May 2nd. So I would advise anybody here, you students, any of your friends that want to apply for scholarship, to take advantage of that. This is the time when I want to say again, there are no losers on this stage. These guys have worked hard. They put their heart and soul to it. They gave wonderful speeches. And just because we have to rank by scores, the top 3 finishers to award the prize money, that's what I'm going to tell you about now, the top 3. But I again want to say thank you for participating. I hope you spread the word among your classmates. The sophomores now, they'll be juniors next year. Those are the ones that really like to do this. And college applications, college admissions departments, their eyes light up when they see that you have participated in the Rotary four-way test contest. Trust me on that. They don't know if you won or not, they don't really care, but that is a real good piece.
Hey, thank you, Warren. This has just been really awesome, and you guys are awesome. And oh, okay, so I am going to announce the winners. Third place is Zachary. Zachary, can you just step forward a foot? Zach, just step forward. Yay! All right. Our second place is Morgan. Woo! Okay, I'm not going to leave you in suspense. Our first place is Jacob. Hey, congratulations.